The first red flag that I got from my narcissistic ex-husband when we first got married. So if you've been following me for a while or you know anything really about narcissists, is that they are master manipulators. So stuff like this that happened in our marriage, from literally the story that I'm about to tell that happened on our honeymoon, it didn't happen while we were dating. There was obviously little red flags here and there that I obviously completely ignored or was just so like love bombed into not seeing them, that when stuff like this happened after we got married, after the paper was signed and everything, I was like, oh crap. So before there's any judgment about, well, you chose this, you chose to marry him, but you know, all those people that obviously know what they're talking about, remember that they're master manipulator. I grabbed like this my newlywed husband's arm on our honeymoon, and he reared his arm back, put his hand up at me, and said, I'm the man, you're the woman, you do what I say, I'm not listening to you.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Omomi, aka Petite Diva, and in this video we're going to be discussing about a woman who discovered her husband was narcissistic during their honeymoon. And I'm like, what's going on? Anyway, I don't know much about the whole story, so let's check it out together, and then afterwards I would share my thoughts about the whole situation. So let's check out her story together.
The first red flag that I got from my narcissistic ex-husband when we first got married. So if you've been following me for a while or you know anything really about narcissists, is that they are master manipulators. So stuff like this that happened in our marriage, from literally the story that I'm about to tell that happened on our honeymoon,
Wow.
it didn't happen while we were dating. There was obviously little red flags here and there that I obviously completely ignored or was just so like love bombed into not seeing them, that when stuff like this happened after we got married, after the paper was signed and everything, I was like, oh crap. So before there's any judgment about, well, you chose this, you chose to marry him, but you know, all those people that obviously know what they're talking about, remember that they're master manipulators and they can get anyone to do anything basically. When we got married, there was a flip that was switched. Immediately when we got married, it's like he was like, okay, now you are trapped. Now I can do what I want, and this is the first thing that happened. So we were on our honeymoon. We went on a cruise for our honeymoon, and I had been on a couple cruises before. He had not. It was the day that we were getting off the boat because we landed in Mexico. So, okay, yeah, let's get off the boat. Let's go. Number one, we didn't have a good amount of time. Like, we didn't have all day. You know, if you've ever been on a cruise, you know that there's a certain time. And if you're not back on the boat at a certain point, then they will leave you. So he is like, I'm on vacation, I want to sleep in. That's fine, but at the same time, like, we're kind of on a schedule because we also had like a thing that we had to go do at a certain time. So I was already a little bit stressed out, and he did use sleep as control so much, where he would get so high, so drunk, that he would sleep until like 2 in the afternoon most days. And if I was like, hey, we have somewhere to be, it would immediately be a fight. That's how the day started, is that he was oversleeping, and he was already a little bit pissed off at me because I was reminding him that we had plans on our honeymoon. Once again, I can see all of the comments coming in of, oh, you were already nagging him on your honeymoon? No, I was just, you know, reminding him. So everything started before we even got off the boat. There's a certain way that you have to get off the boat. There's an intercom telling you how to do it. There's signs telling you where to go. There's people who have been on cruises before that could tell you how to do it. But you know what? I was like, he seems like he knows where he's going. Let's just follow him. I'm keeping my mouth shut, and I'm thinking, I know that we're going the wrong way. I know that we are. But I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna let him do what he wants to do. Because he was already mad at me for waking him up. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna let him do his thing. After like 15 minutes of just wandering around, how do we get off this boat? Which, how? But anyway, I tell him, hey, I'm sorry, it's this way. Like, we've got to go this way. And he's like, you don't know what you're talking about. And I tell him, like, I've been on a cruise before, I'm listening to the intercom, I'm reading the signs, like, I'm just trying to help us. I start walking this way, and I touch his arm, not grab his arm. In his version of the story, I grab his arm like this, and I'm like, come on. That's not how that happened. I grabbed like this my newlywed husband's arm on our honeymoon, and he reared his arm back, put his hand up at me, and said, "I'm the man, you're the woman. You do what I say. I'm not listening to you."
Okay.
Great feeling on your honeymoon. So he stands there like that. I stand there looking at him, and I'm like, what are you gonna do? And no, he doesn't have the courage to hit me. But he does decide to not talk to me for a few hours, probably 3 to 4 hours of our honeymoon. We somehow find our way off the boat. Immediately, I need a drink. I need to go get a drink. I'm like, okay. So we go, and we literally just sit at this restaurant with him drinking beer for like another hour, and he's just not talking to me. So whenever he finally stops the silent treatment, he looks at me and goes, "I had a feeling this is how it was gonna be, and I just need to let you know right now how this is gonna work." So I'm like, okay, here we go. What's about to be said? And he goes, "Well, the Bible does tell us that wives submit to their husbands, and I didn't see a good example of that today. You trying to lead us as if you were the husband off the boat when I clearly had it handled, that's not you submitting. So what we are going to do is you're going to submit to me, and we're going to do what I say. You can have your opinions, but final say is from me." Side note, yes, the Bible does say that. The Bible did not say
That is
that you can use that to control your wife.
That's spiritual
Because
manipulation.
I can go on a rant about that all day. But he was using this completely out of context to completely control me. And you can see where that got him. A divorce. Just another little side note, any kind of negative comments, because I love them. I love to read them before I block them. So go ahead and comment them if you want, because I love when the men find my videos again and they're like, "We know that you were doing something. I want to hear his side of the story. I want to..." Go ahead and let us laugh at you. Looking back on that situation now, absolutely I should have been more aware and careful of situations that came up like this, because that was a mild one compared to what would happen to me in the next few years in our marriage. But thankfully, me and my son are gone. Narcissists are master gaslighters, manipulators, everything, to the point where they can trap people for a certain amount of time. And I'm grateful that I got out when I did, because I know that people are currently still in them after 20 years or didn't leave after 30 years. And I'm sorry for anyone who has ever had to deal with a narcissist, parent, relationship, friend, whatever.
The fact that he didn't want to take instructions or did not want to take suggestion from her when she was trying to tell him that, okay, you are going the wrong way, and he was already flipping out and saying, "I'm the man, you're the woman," on top of a boat. On top of a boat. You don't know it, and someone is trying to tell you that this is the way out, and you have started using "I'm the man" and you are the woman. On what ground to find the way out of the boat? And then you're supposed to be on your honeymoon. You're not supposed to be drinking all the time. You're supposed to at least be doing activities, team bonding. At least that's what team building. Okay, team building and bonding activities on your honeymoon. Not drinking and sleeping and doing all sorts of things that is not supposed, that will not bring you together. Then trying to use the Bible to manipulate. Oh, classic narcissistic behavior. If everything that she said is right, that's just terrible. And it's not surprising. A lot of narcissistic people would look for things to twist, to try and trap people, to try and get them to do their bidding. Is either they will use, "Oh, I'm your parent, you are not supposed to talk back to me, you're not supposed to say this, you're supposed to follow all that I say you should do," or "I'm your husband, you cannot do this, but I can do it, any which way, this is a man's word," and the rest. So many things that they would just try to twist to gaslight, like she said, gaslight you and also trap you. Anyway, let's check out what people had to say about the whole situation and also talk about their own experience.
This is the first red flag that I got from my narcissistic ex-husband when we first got married.
If you haven't watched her video, like the full video, go watch it. So you know how everyone says like the 3-month rule, you live by it, don't tell nobody about them, all that, and keep it going. Real toxic people, men or women, 3-month rule don't matter. Unfortunately, I've dated toxic men and women, and it 3 months didn't show nothing. There might have been a red flag here or there, but ain't nobody perfect. Like my last relationship, chased me. Didn't want nobody but me. It was always me. This and that. We was always good, and I was scared of a relationship because people are toxic. Finally got in a relationship with him. Everything was good. Why did it all go downhill? Mind you, I've known this man for years, like more than 4. All people who are toxic want is to like own you like property. Argue with your mama, not with me. And once they think they have you reeled in and you can't go nowhere, that's when it just gets even worse. Me personally, I can't imagine being married to someone who's that toxic because, as she said, it didn't last. She's glad she's gone. I feel for her. Good for you, babe. But even just dating like people like that is mentally exhausting. Like, people will really show another side of you, or they will mirror you. People are good at that if they're toxic. My grandma always told me, you gotta be with someone when they are grieving, when they are angry, when they don't have a dime to their name, and when they get some money. If you haven't seen somebody in each one of those stages, don't marry them yet. Because you might get a different person for every one of those stages. And not even think you have your best friend your whole life and now it's a completely different person and you're falling out of love with them. Don't let somebody gaslight you into staying with them just because y'all together, you got to stay through their bullshit. Nice try. Find somebody else to do it.
Immediately when we got married, it's like he was like, okay, now you are trapped.
I'm going through that. If you go watch her video, you will understand more of what this is referring to in just like the first 10 seconds. And I have heard other people talk about this, but I never actually thought that was happening to me until just this very moment. Also, I'm 100% not turning on any lights. I am stressed out and broke out because I'm going through a divorce. So my situation is a little bit different. We were not actually legally married. I know you're going to question like what in the F, but just don't question it. That's just what we decided. That's what we both wanted. And that's what we did. So my then husband, when we did get married, there was no flip of a switch at that point because it was not legally tied down technically. So I'm just now sitting here running through my head like, but it didn't happen when we got married, but we never really like got married. Like we didn't even have a wedding. Before we got married and while we were dating, we had talked about how we both didn't want children. But as time kind of progressed, we kind of both realized like, but if we did want to have children, like it would definitely be like with you. At some point, once the world started to open back up, we had went out for dinner and he said, you know what, I want to make a baby. Then at that point, I was hysterically almost crying because I was so happy in the moment. I actually went home and I told like so many people. I went to the doctor, you know, I put this plan into motion. It was important to us that I got off of my medication. So I was like, okay, I went to the doctor, got the okay. She's like, let's wean you off of all your medication. Let's go down the route of getting you prepared to start trying. Okay. We obviously never had a baby. Okay. So again, he's not tied down. Then we bought a house together. We bought a house in the beginning of October or the end of September of 2021. In January or February of 2022, so just a few months later, we had our first fight ever. We always told ourselves how insanely unique we were because we never fought. Our first fight ever, and it was a bad one because I didn't know any of this existed. I didn't know any of this was like happy. He comes to me and he says how he has noticed how unhappy I am and how it's basically making him feel like everything is negative, and how, you know, it's weird because I'm hiding upstairs all day and I'm just not giving him that attention he wants or whatever. Mind you, I work upstairs. That was where my office was, my computer, everything. But I also had a TV up there. I had a little futon, you know, a little hangout space. It was my little me space. Like, it was so cozy. I had these lights put up, rainbow tapestry. Like, it was just beautiful and cozy. I always lit incense. It was just wonderful. And I always went up there to write. I'm an author. Like, that was just my space, right? He was upset that I was up there too much. Never once, ever in our relationship did he ever fight with me or argue with me or even bring any of this to light. I didn't know that he felt this way. And he said he felt it back at our old house too. I knew none of this. So this was so blind. I was so blindsided by this. It was just weird to me. And even up until a couple months ago, I still thought of this random fight, this random time, how it was just so like, it was so random. That's why I was so blindsided by this. And I told him this later. I was like, God, I'm still so blindsided by the fact that you brought that to me. But see, he knew what he was doing this entire time. That's part of that manipulation. He now had me tied down, so the mask started coming off. He started changing fast into somebody that I didn't recognize. It was very crazy. Because none of that's like really true. Like, I hang out up here because it's my me space, yes. But I'm not giving you attention. Like, it's not because I don't want to be around you. Like, where is this all coming from? So never, ever in our relationship did he ever bring any of that up. Never even occurred to me that that could be on my radar, okay? Because we had a wonderful relationship, let me tell you. Shortly after this occurrence, I had asked him, okay, I'm ready to be towards the end of getting off all of that medication. What are your thoughts? Where are we at on that? And he's like, you know, I don't think right now is the right time, but you know, in a couple months we can talk about it again. Just here to say, we never talked about it in a couple months, and we never talked about it ever again until this last year, just about, I don't know, 8 to 10 months ago. He told me he no longer wants children. I don't think he wanted them at all, to be honest. I think this was part of his manipulation, and it didn't work because it didn't happen. And so he couldn't tie me down. But with having that wonderful relationship, there were some red flags that I, like many, chose to ignore. Or at the very least, thought they'd get better. Like she says in that video, don't judge. You know, we all make mistakes. And clearly, I'm not the first person to fall for these manipulative fuckers out there. So when you're dealing with a narcissist, they have these moments like this where suddenly they'll get you trapped, and that's where they know that they can fully control you. And that's where the mask comes off. Truly, what is insane about it, and this is where you have the fine line of having like being or having narcissistic personality traits and being a sociopath. They're master manipulators. They know exactly what they're doing. And the main thing that they do is that they mirror you in the beginning so that you essentially fall in love with you. I know, wonderful self-love, right? At least it helps in the healing process. They have this way of being a chameleon to where whoever they are attaching to, they turn their colors and you fall in love with this person's charm, this person's kindness, this person's way of speaking, thinking, doing, because it's you, honey bear. It's you. But back to the point of this video, exactly what she said, in the flip of a switch, the second she got married, he turned on her. The mask came off. I'm just now, in this very moment, realizing that happened to me, not when we got married, because it wasn't legally tied down. Not when he decided that he wanted to have children, because then he would have me legally tied down. That didn't happen. But what did? We bought a house together. A couple months in, the mask started to come off. And here we are now, 5 years total into this relationship. And I finally got out because it got very scary at the end.
This
is the first red flag that I got from my narcissistic ex-husband when we first got married.
Go watch that video she actually, there was one little segment in there where she talked about sleeping all the time. And I found it because I was scrolling through the comments and I saw someone else say, mine slept all the time too. I had no idea that was a form of manipulation. Let me tell you, sleeping all the time. Okay. Mine would always just say, oh, I'm a night owl, you know, and I get that. People, you know, they like to stay up, whatever, great. You know, that's you, be you. I'm an early riser typically. Don't really like that about myself, but I like to get up early. Anyway, traditionally how it would work would be he would stay up till 3, 4, 5 a.m. And I would be in bed because I'd have to be up and go to work the next day. You know, he didn't have a normal day job like that. So he'd stay up till, you know, 3, 4, 5 a.m. And then I would go to work. I'd get up, start getting ready for work. He would go to sleep. And then I would get home from work and he'd just be waking up, sometimes 2 p.m., sometimes like 4 p.m. And so really what that meant was after I'm done with work, that really gave us like, you know, really 2 to 3 hours before I was like getting ready for bed to go to bed. So if we wanted to go out and do anything, go have dinner, anything, spend quality time together, it was that little short window of time, right? So, and then if I had a day off, it was pretty much my day off. I would spend it alone. I would figure out something to do with myself, and that would be it. And I got to a point where I just got exhausted with trying to express, you know, I want to spend time with you, basically, and not getting any like reciprocation for that. Just because there was never like, oh, I want to spend time with you. No, that was never clearly stated. It was like, oh yeah, well, we'll do this, we'll do that, but it never happened. And again, it was like, oh, well, I was a night owl, I couldn't go to sleep. So the excuse was I couldn't fall asleep, so I just stayed up till 5 a.m. And then I was left there to go, okay, it's my day off, like a weekend or something. Guess I'll go have brunch by myself, right? Which, I don't know, if any of you have been married, you don't really get married to go to brunch by yourself. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, anyway, I had no idea either that that was a form of manipulation. I just didn't think about it. You know, I just thought that's his personality. That was a big thing. Throughout the whole thing, I thought, oh, that's just his personality. And now that I'm seeing other people talk about their experiences, I'm like, maybe it was manipulation, because we never spent time together. The time that he was awake and I was awake, it was like, just wasn't anything. I don't know.
The first red flag that I got from my narcissistic ex-husband when we first got married.
Go check out and watch her whole video. Mine was a little different though. My ex used sleep deprivation. So like he would keep me up at night. He would wake me up early. He would do horrible things like go out in the yard and start fires and blow literal gasoline on it at like 3 a.m. so that I couldn't peacefully sleep and would have to always be there to make sure my house wasn't getting lit on fire or my kids weren't seeing their completely drunk narcissistic father doing all of these things. So yeah, sleep deprivation. When I finally started sleeping, like it's been 7 years since I left that relationship, and I still am just like, my sleep is
Now, people sharing their own experience, the stuff about the sleep manipulation, I don't quite understand that. I understand that they use that sleeping at different times just not to like associate with you and then throw off the whole balance of what you people are supposed to do together, just because they don't want to be near you or something, and then when you're doing something that it's uplifting for yourself, they don't like it. They actually don't like it. Like the other lady that was saying that she walks upstairs and he had a problem with it. I'm sure he would have wanted her not to do anything and just be at his beck and call. Like some people, if they are going out of the house to work, they begin to start saying, oh, you're spending so much time at your workplace, don't you think you should stay at home or do something like that, and try to control the narrative of the person. Now, for the original creator, it's just unfortunate that she was not super aware of the red flags when they were dating. But then again, some of these toxic, narcissistic people know how to pretend till they feel that they've got you lock, stock, and what was that word they used? Till they feel like they've kind of trapped you, and then all the characters begin to show in a way that you be like, is this the same person? So I get why she might not have really seen some of those red flags. But this whole situation is just something, it's just weird. On your honeymoon, when it's supposed to be your lovey-dovey stuff and you're already fighting. Anyway, that's my thoughts about the whole situation. I would love to hear your thoughts about this whole situation, this whole toxic, narcissistic people dynamics. Have you ever been involved in any relationship with a toxic person or a narcissistic person? How did you get out of that relationship? Or what were the signs or the things that made you know, oh, I need to leave this relationship? I would love to hear your thoughts about narcissistic people and narcissistic relationship, or toxic people and toxic relationship. So please leave your comments in the comment section so that we can get this discussion popping. Now, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you are not yet subscribed and you like videos such as this, please consider subscribing by clicking on the red button that says subscribe. And don't forget to click on the bell notification icon by the side so that you're notified anytime I upload videos. Now, with all that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.